external features of the toad is divisible into two regions, the eggshell and the appendicular region. The eggshell region is composed of the head and the trunk with almost no neck at all, while the appendicular region is composed of the forelimbs and the hind limbs. First, we have the eggshell region. The snout is located at the anterior end of the head and is triangular in shape. It is also bordered by the anterior part of the upper jaw. The nostrils, or also known as the external nares, are two small openings near the tip of the snout. The eyes are found at the dorsolateral portion of the head. These are provided with the upper eyelids, lower eyelids, and the transparent covering which is an outgrowth of the lower lid, the nictitating membrane. The tympanic membrane is a circular area behind each eye, also called the eardrum. The brown spot is a tiny white spot at the mid-dorsal part of the head between the level of the eyes. This is very distinct in the frog and not in the toad. The trunk is a part of the body posterior to the head. It is also divided into two regions, the thoracic and the abdominal regions. The thoracic region or the chest region is the anterior half. In this region, the parotid glands or the poisons are located and are elevated structures of the skin just behind the tympanum. These are absent in the frog. While the abdominal or lumbar region is the posterior half. The ventral portion is the abdominal while the dorsal is the lumbar region. The small opening found at the end of the trunk is the anus. In the frog, there it is at the back, is the sacral hump produced by the protrusion of the pelvic girdle. For the lower region of the frog's body or the appendicular region, first we have the forelimbs which features the upper arm of the frog, the middle forearm, the carpus or wrist, manus or hand, fingers or also called digits, and also the prepollux which is the rudimentary first finger. As for the hind limbs, it features the thigh, the shank, the tarsus or the ankle, pes or foot, the toes or also called the digits, the web, and the prehallux, which is a small sixth toe, which also may be missing. Now let us head over into the internal anatomical structures of the toad. So, before we open the frog, we have the line alba. It is the line at the center of the abdomen of the frog, which we cut open to view its internal features. Then we also have the ventral abdominal vein, which is a blood vessel attached to the abdominal wall. So in frogs and toads, there are two coelomic cavities that can be found. We have the pericardial cavity, which is comprised of the left atrium, right atrium, and the ventricle. So basically it means that it holds the heart. And also the pleuroperitoneal cavity, which comprises the largest part of the space in the trunk and holds most of the organs, as you can see in the parts that it holds, like the lungs, liver, gallbladder, and whatnot. So as I've said earlier, the pericardial cavity is the cavity that holds the heart, and also it is a small body cavity located in the thoracic region. So as we know, the heart is the organ which is responsible for the pumping of blood all throughout the body, and it is also a three-chambered heart for most toads, most amphibians, with two anterior atria and one posterior ventricle. So the left atrium of the heart receives oxygenated blood from the lungs and it is carried by the pulmonary veins. The right atrium, on the other hand, receives the oxygenated blood from the different organs carried by the vena cava. And the ventricle is a cone-shaped part which receives both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from the atria. Now, as for the pleuroperitoneal cavity, it is the body cavity where most of the organs of the viscera are suspended by their respective mesentery. So, as I've learned from the digestive system, the mesentery is responsible for holding all of the organs found in the digestive system so that they won't fall apart in the abdomen. Now, the lungs, it is a primary organ for breathing. It has big thin wall sacs and can be seen inflated or collapsed. So, it would inflate when you inhale and it would deflate when you exhale. So, the liver is considered as the largest gland in the body, and it is also reddish brown in color due to the pigment granules. And At the ventral part of the liver, we can find the gallbladder, which is a small rounded sac, and the purpose that it serves is for the storage of bile. So for the stomach, it is a bag-shaped, muscular, slightly curved sac. So as I've learned from the digestive system discussion, it is also where food which we chew is pushed around to break it down into even more pieces so that it would be easily digested by different enzymes. And the stomach is divided into two regions, the cardiac region and the pyloric region. The cardiac region is wider, and it is also in the anterior portion, which joins the esophagus with the stomach, and the pyloric region is the posterior region, which is located near the pyloric sphincter. Now, another part of the digestive system is the small intestine, which is a long, narrow, and coiled tube composed of the duodenum and the ileum. So the duodenum is the anterior portion, while the ileum is the posterior portion. The small intestine is also comprised of villi, which maximizes the absorption of different nutrients from the food we eat. So the pancreas is a long, thin, irregular yellowish organ. So the pancreas is also one of those organs which releases juices or enzymes, which also breaks down the food we eat into smaller components or into its monomer so that it would be more absorbed by the body. Next is the large intestine, or also called the colon. It is a straight, not coiled unlike the coiled small intestine, and it is also club-shaped, usually dark colored tube. It is continuous with the small intestine and ends at the anus. So the large intestine is where the wastes are deposited, and for it to reach the anus to be excreted out of the body, it undergoes a series of peristalsis or muscle contractions for the stool or for the waste to move onto the anus and outside of the body. Next, the urinary bladder is a membrane bilobe sac and the ventral to the posterior end of the large intestine. So the urinary bladder is part of the renal system. Next, we have the spleen. The spleen is a rounded dark red gland and embedded in the mesorectum. So the mesorectum is the mesentery, which suspends large intestine to the dorsal body wall. Now, the kidney is a flat elongated organ and it is also dark brown in color. So it is also one of those organs which filters waste before it becomes excreted in the body, and also it filters blood. So the testis is a pair of oval or elongated cylindrical yellowish body which is found only in male toads. So we also have the fat bodies, also known as the corpora adiposa, or the finger-like yellowish bodies attached to the anterior and end of each testis. So it means it's also found only in male toads. So the ovaries are found in female toads and are dark organs filled with eggs. When they are not filled with eggs, they are small, flattened, pale, and irregularly shaped. Now, the oviduct is a paired white cold tubes. It is like pancit canton and can also only be found in female toads.